Morning and welcome everybody back to another Compassion Week video. I just did one yesterday where we talked about being able to reframe our mind to take our own ego out of the equation when it comes to showing compassion to others. But today I want to talk about something that I think is going to be far more applicable to most people and far more helpful to those that are willing to sit and listen to the rest of this video, because this time we're going to be talking about compassion towards yourself. This is a very, very difficult concept at first, and I know a lot of people don't have any issues with this. A lot of people who do have issues with this as well, and you may not even think you have an issue with this, but it's something that I think everybody experiences at some point in their life. And I really hope that you find what I'm about to share with you somewhat helpful when it comes to fighting self-doubt and negativity, just a general lack of compassion for yourself. So this is something that I've struggled with for a very large part of my life. My brain's inner dialogue, they talk about how your inner dialogue or your inner monologue, your inner voice tends to be set from the time that you're at a very young, impressionable age, which is one of the reasons that I dedicate my life and what I do and my purpose into both helping parents and children and teaching children, better ways and parents better ways to set those inner dialogues for later adult life. Because I myself was not set up with a very positive inner dialogue. I was surrounded not only by negativity directed towards me, but also self-negativity of those around me for pretty much all of my early life. And I know what that did to this automatic way that I tend to think about things. So obviously, as I started my martial arts journey, I also started a journey of self-therapy when it came to the life skills I was learning through martial arts. And one of the things that I remember I was asked to study as an advanced strength was the concept of compassion. So in that study, I decided to take a different approach, and I studied the concept of self-compassion. And that's what I wrote one of my black belt thesis things about. Yes, it is an education. Martial arts is just teaching people something they ain't gonna learn in school, teaching you something you're not gonna learn in college. It's application. It's where knowledge meets application. And so as I was on this journey of talking about self-compassion or trying to learn about self-compassion, I realized that much of that problem can at least be helped. Now, if you try this and it doesn't help, then you may have to consider other methods, because there may be some more physical issues with your brain and things like that. But not getting into that, I found something that does help to some extent, and I found it through scientific thought through the scientific method. It's only a small piece of the scientific method, but that's what I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to share with you how that relates to fighting self-doubt, negativity, and generally showing better compassion to yourself. So while we continue down this little personal journey, I appreciate any respect. You don't have to be negative in the comments, but if you are, it's okay. I'm pretty thick-skinned. If you got anything to say, you got a differing opinion, that's cool. You type it in there, we can have a discussion. I love the study of these concepts of life skills education and then how they apply not only through martial arts, but how they apply in real life. So here we go. The part of the scientific method that helped me learn to deal with, or gave me ammunition in that internal battle against self-doubt and negativity, is the concept of learning the difference between a fact and an opinion. So there is a big difference between a fact and opinion. We all know this. You can type in there, what the answer is. What's the difference between a fact and an opinion, right? I don't even know how many people watching this this live video. So I'm not going to worry too much about waiting for someone to type it in. That's the question that I posed. What's the difference between an opinion and a fact? Well, a fact is something that can be based in reality, quantitated, and proven, and recreated, and truth. An opinion can still be truth, but an opinion is something that is derived from only one perspective. It derives from the ego generally. An opinion is simply one's thoughts on a particular subject that may or may not be able to be quantified, proven, or recreated. Now, we all know that that's the big difference between fact and opinion. So how does that relate to fighting self-doubt and negativity? Just always remember and ask yourself when those doubts, those self-thoughts, should I have done this? Could this go worse? When you're starting to look at worst case scenarios of a situation that you just went through, stopping for just a second and reminding yourself to ask the question, am I assuming things that are based in fact, or am I making a lot of assumptions based on opinion? My own opinion of how somebody else related to a situation I was involved in. And when I realized, if you can convince yourself and remember that a lot of times, that self-doubt and negativity, not every time, but a lot of times, comes from a place of opinion, personal opinion, and self-ego. So like I said in my compassion video yesterday, if you can learn to recognize your ego and learn to recognize when the thoughts in your head are framed using terms like I, me, mine, and things like that, and you learn to rephrase that question, then you start to see things from a different point of view. Now, same thing here when you're talking about self-doubt, negativity, and all of that. Stop yourself and ask yourself, is this my opinion about myself? Am I assuming someone else's opinion about myself? And what are the facts actually related to these self-negative, self-doubt thoughts? So if you can remember to do that and put your trust in fact instead of worrying or relying on not only someone else's opinion, but your own negative opinion of yourself, then it really does help. You know, one of the things that helps me, and you can do this on your own, but it was honestly my wife, the wonderful Mrs. Rose, as she's known on the floor, Brittany, she's standing here. She's the one that helped me get a start with this whole fact opinion thing. When she would see that my self-doubts were based in opinions, then she would sit down and basically go, let's make a list of the things you've done. Well, you got out of this terrible childhood situation. You rose out of being homeless twice. You got yourself through high school and college with a perfect 4.0 GPA while doing so. You picked up a career and within 2 years, got the level of pay that most people never reached in that career. And she would start just going through my life's accomplishments. You started a business. Look how many people that you've helped, how many parents are having better relationships with their children, how many children and teenagers are feeling better about themselves because of what it is that you share. And she puts all this out in front of me, and then I look at that and I go, and we go through it one by one, and I say, well, this one's just opinion based, right? That's just other people's opinions. So she'll go, okay, let's see if we can quantify it. And then she'll go back through and she'll read reviews from our Facebook page to me. She'll read reviews from Google. She'll read stuff like that and go, see, here's quantitative social proof of what we're seeing here that's positive about you. So this is a fact. Now let's go back to the negative thought I was having about myself. Now then she'll turn the question on me. Can you prove why you have that negative thought? And then every time I would say, yeah, I could prove it because this, I could prove it because this, she'd instantly go, but that's not a fact, that's an opinion. That's your own opinion, but it's an opinion. And opinion, if it's negative, even if it's your own opinion, should never have control of yourself if it's negative. The only person's opinion that should ever matter to you is your own, of course. But if it's a negative opinion, then it shouldn't matter either. So learning this simple scientific method of learning the difference between what a fact is and an opinion is, and then applying that to your own thoughts when you start to realize that you're facing self-doubts and negativity. Hey, Miss Chantel, glad you could join us. Feel free to comment in anything in your thoughts in this, but it's something I've found helped me over the years. when I could be reminded of when this self-doubt is actually just coming from an opinion, and that an opinion is not necessarily based in reality. An opinion is based in the perspective of reality, which in its own right is like its own reality. So when you follow the way that science goes, each person's perspective is technically kind of like its own little universe, if that makes sense, which makes it no less real than reality. But that's what gives you control over it, because even though it is real, it is perspective, and perspective can be changed to create a new reality around you and in your mind. And one of the ways that you can do that is by tethering yourself. They call it grounding in spirituality, grounding yourself in the baseline, the zero line of reality as it stands right now. And a great way that you can ground yourself that way is asking yourself, are these negative thoughts opinions, or are they facts? And can I actually quantitate it and prove it? I don't even know if I'm using the right sciencey words. It's been years since I've done the school thing. And honestly, that's the weird thing about realizing that you have ADHD as an adult is I realized that it actually helped me in school because I had social anxiety too. So I hated people. So my hyper focus zeroed in on learning because it was something I was good at. And so I enjoyed it because it made me feel good because everything else around me was negative. So because all the negativity around me, and maybe it did develop a pretty negative self monologue internally, and yet at the same time, it also helped me get straight A's in school. How weird, right? Life's a trip. Not everything that about you that you feel like is a curse is. It can be a blessing. It's how you apply it. It's how you figure out how to apply it that makes all the difference in the world. So I just wanted to share. Compassion is not just about caring for others, which I spoke about in my video yesterday. You can go back and watch that, and I'm going to post some little snippets from it on this page later this week. But compassion of self is really where it starts. And you got to learn to have a little bit more care for yourself. So to end this live video, I want to share a story I wrote for my other business, Teammate Children's Stories. It's not actually about compassion. It's actually about respect. But I think if I read it to you, y'all will be able to see how these two concepts, even though I'm talking about respect in this, how it can easily relate to compassion the same way. As soon as I can get it to open, my computer's a little bit slow. So I'd like to end this live video about self-compassion by reading this, because as I've been saying throughout this, you got to learn to recognize when your ego is talking. That's the thing that puts your thoughts in the perspective of I, me, my, where do I fit in the situation? What can I do? How do I? And then learning how to reframe those questions to not use those words when you ask yourself the question. And then when you're answering it from a much better point of view to be able to show not only compassion to others, but also compassion to yourself. Now, I know that people with depression and chronic anxiety, PTSD, OCD, things like that, which are far more common than people understand. I mean, you'd be surprised. The world's a cold place, and it's surprising what people who have done their best to survive have came out with as side effects from that. And I think it's important to show compassion towards that. Now, if you're one of those people struggling, what I'm telling you is not going to fix anything, but I tell you it does help when you're in your darkest moments. Simply recognize the ego and then ask yourself, is this fact or opinion? And if you have a great teammate around you, like my teammate, Miss Brittany, who I know would easily do the same thing for any one of our members, would you not? Would you not sit down with them and show them, let's look at the facts? Well, the facts are you've done this, this, and this, and these are all positive. Let's look at the dark opinion. Is it opinion or fact? And if you need a teammate to help you with that, you don't have someone at home that you feel you can trust or have that conversation with because maybe it's about them or whatever, reach out to one of us. You don't even have to meet face to face, y'all. I message, I text, I do the tech thing here, right? I message people, Facebook me, right? I use old man terms. It's not Facebook me. How do they say it? PM me, which just sounds dirty to me. Okay, the rest of you guys that are like my generation and older, that I know we know what the term PM means in social media, but doesn't that just almost sound like, are they saying something dirty? I don't know why, but that one gets me, right? DM, which is the one they use on Instagram, direct message, that makes more sense to me. That one doesn't sound as creepy, but there's something really creepy about the PM me, or I just PM'd you. I don't know why I'm creeped out by it, but I super am, just so you know. So to end this video about self-compassion, I'm going to read you guys a poem I wrote. It's also available on my store at teammatechilderstories.com, which we also have a full app subscription. It's a monthly $10 thing. Get your first month for $1. We're releasing new stories constantly. There's over 30 in it now. There's going to be over 80 in it by the time Christmas rolls around, probably closer to 100. There's going to be over 200 in it by the end of next year. So the stories are written. It's just a matter of getting all the files through week by week. So you can get your first month for $1 too, and that's refundable, cancelable anytime. Ain't no contract with that, y'all. It's just a regular recurring payment, much like your Netflix bill. And you want to stop it, you just reach out to me. You can Facebook me for that too. That's cool. But let me go ahead and read this. We use these stories in our little classes a lot, our Tigers classes and things. This one is called I Like the Idea. I wrote it when I was in a pretty dark place and trying to find my way out and reminding myself about the difference between fact and opinion. I like the idea of respecting myself. I don't know about you, but I think I'm doing pretty swell. I think I might know how I can tell if I'm respecting myself and doing it well. I brush my teeth, I keep myself clean, I watch what I eat and make sure some is green. I say nice things in my head all the time, in my own thoughts that are mine. Things like how I really ought to know I'm better than I thought. I must just try hard, take it slow and trot. I'll get where I'm going and I'll take care of myself first. I don't need your help in knowing when it comes to what I'm worth. I'm worth feeling great, which I know good rest can get me. I think it might be fate that I'm in charge of it, you see. I'm lucky enough a body to have that will always tell me what it needs. Like when my tummy rumbles, it says I may be hungry. Sometimes I don't always know for sure, so I always drink a glass of water before. This will let me know when it does hit my tummy if I was thirsty or maybe really was hungry. I will go to bed before I get too tired because if not, I'll be groggy and mired. Then I can't be the best I can be for those around me that I call family. Yes, I think I like respecting myself. It makes me not worry about how other people felt that one embarrassing time that I tripped and I fell. While it was humiliating and I wanted to yell, I decide my worth and there is no need to tell anyone else what to think of themselves. Unless it's the good things you see that they do, because that's just pointing out that you notice them too. So that kind of sums up the concept of, I know that one was written about respect, but sums up the concept I was trying to talk about today when it comes to compassion for yourself. The small steps. Recognize your ego, recognize the difference between fact and opinion. And if it's negative, particularly, always ask yourself, is this fact or opinion? Go from there. It's a big part of self-awareness. It's been a big part of my martial arts journey. It's been a big part of my self-therapy journey and learning about how to de-escalate situations and never have to fight by first learning how to win the battles within myself. Martial arts isn't just about fighting people. It's also about winning your personal battles. At least it is to me. And that's the way I will always teach it. And that's what's going to be my legacy. So until I jump on here again, please leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Be the best teammates you can be. Be the best at being you.